Well, hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. And if you, my friends, have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you could go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page. You could email Joshua@homebrewhappyhour.com, click send on your thing. And because it's going to go to the same gosh darn place, but even better, why don't you call it in to 325-305-6107. Leave a message after the beep. You could text that hotline, but you'd be a lot cooler if you called it in. Does not get much better than that. I am your host, Joshua Stubing, and I am joined by the queen bee of brewers, friend.com. Until you come up with a better title, that's what I'm calling you. It's Miss Lorena Evans, my friend. Horse is a horse, of course. I only thought that because right before we recorded, you popped in a lozenge and you're like, I'm still horse. And now all I can think of is Mr. Ed. But anyways, Miss Lorena Evans, how are you?
I'm good. I'm very good. Thank you.
You're always the most, I love, we always talk before we record, and that's probably my favorite part. But you didn't sound hoarse at all to me, and I didn't want to be rude, but you're like, I'm still hoarse. I was like, Lorena, that's how I've known your voice to be for 14 years, or however long we've known each other.
Yeah, have we known it? Yeah, I think we have.
It's been at least 14. I think so. Yeah. It was, I want to say, in person, we may not have met until Homebrew Con. Was it Portland was the first one that we met?
Because I conned Todd into buying a charcuterie tray and me a beer. And I know that's when I actually sat with you in person. I'd met James previously, but...
yeah. And what year was that? That was
still Portland. Yeah. It was still Portland, but I saw him walking down the hallway, and I was like, yeah, of course, I would have recognized you anywhere. If you remember how we met, just brief little side story. This is so funny. We'd go into the hotel bar area because I think HomebrewCon must have been like Wednesday or something when we were there early, but everybody was done setting up for expos and stuff. Yeah. So I was sitting there, and of course, me being the loser that I am, I'm sitting there at a little table by myself.
Oh, yeah.
You have you and Todd, and I think James walked over. Blickman was there, and there was... Who was it that was with? Anyway, so I'm sitting there, and you guys are getting kind of loud, and not you. I'm sure it wasn't you.
Never me.
And I'm like, here I just sit by myself, all alone. And Todd picked up the cue and says, "Come and sit down." I'm like, the rest is history. But that is how a great group of guys. And it was weird because one of your coworkers at the time for Homebrew Supply called me as I'm sitting with you, and one of you said, "Gee, I wonder where Joe is." Yeah. And I'm like, "Joe, they want to know where you are." And you guys all looked at me like, "Why are you talking to Joe?" Because I had met Joe back in Texas. He was actually the first one that I had met that had worked for Todd. Anyway.
Wait, so you and I guess in person we didn't meet until after Todd acquired Homebrew Supply. But we had interacted online, at least on Homebrew Talk a lot. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what I was thinking. But you're right. I can't believe it took that long of meeting in person, because you had been to many Homebrew cons.
Yes. And I had been in San Marcos.
Yeah.
A lot during a period of time back then. That was like after Hurricane Harvey, though. Yeah. So so we had been kind of moving in the same circles, and I had actually known Keith and things, mutual friends. So kind of weird. It
is. Well, and it's been a long time, not just of knowing each other, just being in the industry, even mutually, because you've been with. When you started with Homebrew Talk, was that,
You were like 12. I know.
Oh, shut up. I just got married.
It has been over 20 years since I've been a big part of Homebrew Talk.
Yeah.
20 years.
You're not a moderator anymore, though. You're.
I am, but
you are.
I don't really do anything. See, that's the nice thing. When you get to after 20 years, they're like, we're gonna let her rest a little. But no, I'm still admin there a little bit, not doing some stuff. But yeah, I still pop in there every day.
Okay.
One thing about brewing is so addictive. Talking about beer, brewing beer. Talking about beer when you're not brewing beer, it's addicting.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. But Homebrew Talk too, and I get on weekly. I don't get on. especially ever since, hey guys, have y'all heard I lost my job in February? There, I got it out of the way this episode. Got it out of the way.
Okay. Yeah.
When I was officially in the homebrewing industry, I was on Homebrew Talk every day, like just checking to see, is anyone writing reviews? Does anybody have any questions that we could help with and that kind of stuff? Since February, I probably get on Homebrew Talk weekly. Like on Sunday is confession, friends. I do get on Reddit just to browse the homebrewing thing. Like on Sunday afternoons, like I'm having a cigar on the back patio of my parents' place and a little bit of booze, and I'm like, let's go see what those dorks are up to. And I'll go on Reddit. I'll get on Homebrew Talk because the app now that whatever, I forget the name of the platform.
We're using Gather.
Gather, thank you. Gather, fantastic. And so it's and Gather is like a Reddit sort of. I mean, it's a what do you call it when like it aggregates or it curates? Like it can aggregate all these other forums into one hood. It feels very Reddit-esque. But either way. So I can get on there, see what I check on the Reddit dorks, and then I check on the Homebrew Talk dorks, and then I'm good for a week. And so Homebrew Talk seems to be more engineer minded. And I'm not dogging Reddit. I just mean I think because a lot of those people have been on there for forever, and homebrewing attracts either the autist, I'm pointing to myself for audio only listeners, or the engineers. So we can't all be engineers. I know, Mom, you've told me that we can't all be engineers.
Well, I can remember my very, very first Homebrew Con. There was a grand total of about 800 people there. And a lot of us had been on Homebrew Talk. There was the Green Board and Homebrew Talk. There wasn't a lot difference, and the AHA one. And I remember one of my questions was, what kind of engineer are you?
That's funny. See?
And then it was like, one guy's like, I'm not an engineer at all. I said, really? He's like, yeah, I'm a computer programmer. I'm like, okay, yeah. Are you IT or are you an engineer? That was my new question.
Oh, yeah. Total nerd.
But yeah, it does attract the dorky, geekiest, and I mean that in the most
endearing,
wonderful way.
Yeah.
Because we don't do this for free beer, for cheap beer.
No.
Maybe initially. And then when you go down the rabbit hole and you're doing spunding and pressure fermentation and glycol chillers, we're not doing this because it's cheap.
No.
So it does attract a certain person that, I hate to say it, guys, geekish.
Nerd. I'll say it. Nerd.
When you're young, that might be kind of an insult. As you get older, you realize they're the ones that have the best jobs.
Yeah, but I think I was raised on this concept of if it's observational, don't be offended by it. Like when I was a fat kid and people are like, you're fat. Like, yeah, man, you have good vision. That's nice. When people make fun of my big old melon head, I'm like, yeah. Again, I have a mirror. You think I don't know what I look like? You think, oh, news to me, 40-year-old man doesn't know that his head is freakishly large. Idiots. Anyways, we have a show to do, Lorena.
We should talk about beer today.
Let's talk about beer. But before we do, my friends, this month is great. I actually finally put a graphic up for it. We are doing, well, first off, patreon.com/Homebrew Happy Hour. Join a recipe receiving tier, and you're going to get the Upper Peninsula IPA on the... did I show you the artwork, Lorena, yet?
You did.
You saw it online. That's right. So
I did.
It's called
I follow you. I track you. I follow you on Facebook. I'm a stalker.
I'm a stalker. Okay. I wish I had an ex-girlfriend to compare you to, but I married the first girlfriend I got. But anyway, we're calling it the UP IPA because UP is for Upper Peninsula. My original plan was to call it UP IP. Hey, but that's not even funny. Even everyone I ran it by. But people I ran it by, like my wife, was like, that is so lame. And I was like, but you say that about all my ideas, honey. Anyway, this episode is brought to you by brewersfriend.com. Brewing beer at home isn't just about ingredients, it is about precision. And that's where brewersfriend.com comes in. Whether you're dialing in your first recipe or perfecting your 100th, Brewer's Friend gives you the tools to brew with confidence. Their recipe builder, mash calculators, and water profile database helps take the guesswork out of the process so you can focus on what matters, making great beer. Brewer's Friend isn't just software, it's a community of passionate homebrewers sharing recipes, tips, and feedback. It's like having a homebrew club right in your pocket. Head over to brewersfriend.com today and take your homebrewing to the next level. Use promo code HAPPY HOUR and get 25% off your premium membership. That's brewersfriend.com, because brewing better starts with better tools. A two-hearted clone. I am super excited about this because our members are super excited about this. I did an informal kind of poll from members about like, hey, last month I did where I'm like, hey, we're either going to do a Bell's two-hearted clone, recipe clone, or an Asahi Japanese rice lager, the super dry. And it was tight, but a lot of people too DM me. They don't want their opinions out there in the public. What kind of what does that say about the state of discourse online when even for a beer poll, people would rather DM me than comment it in the public, view? Like they're like, I don't want the public forum to know that I voted for the Japanese rice lager. Not making fun of you guys. I get it. Like, people on the internet are nuts. You don't know those people. You have my contact info, but I was just laughing. Like, don't put your comment on the post I did on Patreon. No, I just want you to know. I don't need everyone to know. Whatever, guys. But it was very close. But the people spoke, and they're like, let's do a two-hearted, which is an award-winning IPA from your neck of the woods. It is are they in Kalamazoo? Where is Bell's?
They are. Yeah, that area, I just drew a blank. Near Comstock, I think. But
what's that mean saying I'm in Austin, but I'm not? Like, isn't that what it is? Like,
right. It's down there. It's down there somewhere. But it's named after the Two-Hearted River, which is in the UP of Michigan. And it was Ernest Hemingway's old stomping grounds. I mean, he stomped everywhere. So it's not like we could just say that's the only place Hemingway went. But that's kind of what made the Two-Hearted famous. And people make pilgrimages this time of year up to the Two-Hearted River. So I'm really excited about this clone too. I love this beer. It's one of my favorites. I think they call it a mid-coast IPA.
Is that?
But it
okay?
means I think that's how they have phrased it. But it's definitely more of a West Coast. It's got a lot of bitterness, a lot of wonderful hop flavor. I'm really excited to get that kit.
Well, and yes, that kit's going to. But I have. I'm assuming I have the only part of the recipe I have not finalized is the yeast. A Chico strain is what it should use, or what would you think for this IPA?
I've used in similar beers. I've used Chico strains. I think that's the cleanest, best. There's very little yeast character in this beer. It just lets the hops and the malt shine stuff.
And famously, all Centennial. It's a Centennial beer. It should be a lot of Centennial. And I say a lot of Centennial. It's not like a Pliny type. It's not a double, but I think the grain bill too is like 12.5 pounds with for a 5 gallon.
It's a pretty big beer.
It's going to be a pretty big beer. It's going to be nice. People can brew it now and get them through the holiday season with their family from this high ABV beer. It's just no.
No, it's going to be so gone before
you're right.
any holiday. Maybe Labor Day. I'd call it a Labor Day beer, but
a Labor Day beer.
It's going to be gone. It's going to be gone.
So with that being said, guys, patreon.com/Homebrew Happy Hour. Thanks, of course, to our sponsors, Cellar Science, Viking, Malt, Hops Direct, Brewer's Friend, and Monster Brewing Hardware for also supporting Brew Day Live. If people are watching at youtube.com/Homebrew Happy Hour. I was told I keep using the same photos of my pop and I and just overlaying it on top of like whatever scenery. Like when we did the Boston Lager, it was like a scene from Boston, and last month was a scene from the Fort Collins. And so I did pick a photo. I licensed out a photo of the Two-Hearted River, and I'm using the same photo of my pop, but I put another one of me, and it's like a Where's Waldo? Where's Joshua? So if you're watching at youtube.com/Homebrew Happy Hour, you can say, where's Joshua? I used a different photo of me. I'm changing it up, guys. I am a man of the people and a man of trying to manipulate the algorithm. Whatever helps Lorena get some more.
Whatever works.
It is. You would be astonished at how the difference between audio listeners and people who watch. And I get it. The show in an hour, who wants to sit down on YouTube and watch bald guy talk, for 1 hour? Who wants to do that? Again, I have a mirror, guys. I know what I look like. But it's long form stuff. If you're not Joe Rogan, I get it. And I'm trying to morph into Joe Rogan apparently with my baldness. But I get it. So anyways, youtube.com/Homebrew Happy Hour on Friday. Now I got to look it up. What's the last Friday? Friday the 28th, 10 a.m. Central. Come join my pop and I. It's going to be a good time because we're going to be brewing, and we'll have this Two-Hearted Ale at some point this month. And I haven't decided if I'm going to do a live stream of it. I do need to make a Japanese rice lager before everyone gets it next month because we do a celebration for my middle kid. If you remember Esther's, she had a craniotomy. It'll be in 2019, so 7 years ago. And she's a little weird, but she survived it and she's good. Everything's fine. She's cancer free and all that, all the scans. She doesn't have to get re-scanned again until she's 18. So that's in 4 years. So life is good. But so we celebrate it every year. And I want a Japanese rice lager on tap for this year's celebration. So I can't.
That's why you were trying to get us to want it now.
Dude, it's why I pushed it hard. And this is how people should know I'm a man of the people. I respect democracy, sort of. But no, I don't want to go down that kind of like philosophical arena. But the people wanted it, and I am just a man of the people. I'm to the will of the people, and so we will be doing that Bells Two Hearted, which again,
awesome.
Patreon.com/Homebrew Happy Hour. Join the recipe receiving tier. Or if you want to just buy it outright, guys, buy it outright. You're an adult. Do whatever you want. Doesn't bother me. The shipping's included in the price. I believe taxes vary depending on where you live. Because I was telling people, Lorena, like, oh, no, I don't think it charges you tax. Some people who've been buying recipe kits, it was charging them tax. So I'm a dirty liar, but not on purpose. I just didn't know. Anyways,
wait a minute. It's food. You can't tax food.
Well, yeah, I don't want to, you know what? I'm going to plead the fifth right now. I don't want to incriminate myself because I don't know if how I'm doing things is even kosher anyway, to be fair. Okay. Lorena, when Homebrew Happy Hour is remoted in from a federal penitentiary and it's, then we could discuss the details where they're like, it was e-commerce fraud. I don't think it is. The internet is still the Wild West when it comes to this kind of stuff. And instead of me...
Sorry I brought it up.
No, don't be sorry. Just be sorry that you haven't helped me find a CPA that is worth the darn. No, anyways. This episode is brought to you by Cellar Science. For years, homebrewers have been told they have to choose. Do you want the quality of liquid yeast or the convenience of dry? Well, Cellar Science flipped the script. They're proving that dry yeast isn't just a backup plan anymore. It's the upgrade. Cellar Science offers premium dry yeast that delivers higher cell counts than typical liquid pitches, meaning you get a stronger, healthier fermentation without the hassle. And the best part? You can direct pitch right into your wort, no starters, no waiting, just brewing. Whether you need their new West Coast strain for a classic American IPA or jungle for a massive fruity estery flavor, they've got your next batch covered. It's quality yeast that doesn't break the bank. Save time, save money, and brew better beer with Cellar Science. All that being said, I do have the iPad because we do have a voicemail. But I'm going to still pretend we have to still do the pretending for the gong just because the editing process will take it out. So before we get into question one, the gong of questions brings us to our first for this week's episode. It is an email. Our buddy Pete wrote in and he said, "Hey, Joshua, love the show. I listen every week and while I'm brewing in my garage. I've got a question about yeast prep that's been bugging me. I'm planning a bigger batch next weekend and keep seeing conflicting advice online about pitch rates. When is making a yeast starter critical versus a complete waste of time? Does Target OG make or break that decision, or does batch size matter more? Also, how does liquid yeast versus dry yeast factor into this? I've heard some folks say you should never make a starter with liquid yeast. Would love to get your take on where the line is between necessary cell counts and overcomplicating a simple brew day. Thanks for all you do, Pete." It is a good question. I've never heard don't make a starter with liquid.
I always say don't make a starter with dry. So maybe he either misunderstood or mistyped on that.
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack there. The first thing, the one question that stood out was what he said about not making a starter. And you tend to note with dry, it has to do with the sterile that is not sterile as in germ-free, but the sterols that are in there to keep that yeast. So I have heard the same thing. That said, I also, when I was started winemaking a long time ago, like 35 years ago, I was always told to rehydrate your yeast.
Yeah.
And so you're taking it dry yeast and making it liquid anyway.
Yeah.
But now it is common, even for winemakers, to just pitch the yeast in there.
Yeah.
It has to do with the health of the yeast and letting it absorb. Anyway, so I would recommend still continuing to do that if you're using dry yeast. But use the right amount. One of the questions he had is it OG or batch size that matters?
Yeah.
Both. Yes. Yes to that. And I highly recommend a yeast pitching calculator, whether you're using slurry, whether you're using dry, whether you're using liquid. Truly pitching the right amount of yeast is critical. He said, is it critical? Yeah. Is it going to ruin your batch totally if you underpitch? No. But if you have a stalled fermentation, if you have some sulfur, if you have some diacetyl, if you have anything at all that can go wrong, that's probably because of underpitching, right? Yeast health is really, really a critical part of your beer. Now, maybe nothing bad will happen, but really, I recommend using a pitch calculator. A rule of thumb that they tend to use in those pitching calculators for homebrewers, there's pro, there's homebrewers, there's different amounts, but they recommend for a low OG beer, like under 1040, probably about 0.5 million cells per degree of Plato. A lot of us work with the SG scale, so that makes it, we have to go,
Lorena,
and for
I'm a
higher,
caveman.
I am, and I'm sorry, it's Fahrenheit, okay, not Celsius.
That's right.
Fight me. An old American, you can't tell me anything.
That's right.
But anyway, so it's easier to use a pitching calculator. And then for higher gravity beers, they recommend between 1 million and 1.5, depending on how high the gravity is. That is so that your yeast can outcompete anything else. You have a healthy fermentation. Reproduction is also a factor. And so can you overpitch? Yeah, you can, but you can probably pitch 50% more than is even recommended and still have a good turnout. The ideal fermentation is going to allow yeast reproduction, the aerobic part of the process, and then the anaerobic process, the fermentation, okay? So that's why we always say make a starter. Is it 100% necessary? Well, maybe not. Will it hurt? Absolutely not.
Right.
Will it benefit your beer? Probably.
Yeah. I'm doing a search because I was trying to remember how many billion cells are in what these modern companies promote.
Right. And White Labs now is a lot higher. I think they say, I want to say 100 billion.
Imperials is still 200 billion viable yeast cells. So tell me this, because what I was going to ask you before doodling off camera, I'm a man of convenience. We all know this. I loved when manufacturers decades ago decided people like Joshua Stubing are dumb. We can't rely on them to buy a brick of dry and weigh it out and determine the amount of grams they need. Look at me, I'm a nerd because I'm an engineer. But no, I'm Joshua, the college dropout. I need cellar science and fermentus and imperial to this sachet or this pouch is for your 5-gallon batch. And if you're doing a 10-gallon batch, you pitch 2 of them. Do you think that has been a net positive for home brewers? Because it should, I know that the answer is not. You still need to measure stuff out from that sachet that was made for a 5-gallon. But how could, if I have, let's say a Chico strain, and we're using, last month we used Velo from Cellar Science, and it's great because it's a big temperature range and it ferments out clean. I love this strain. I've used it now 3 times or at least twice. But if I'm doing a straightforward blonde ale with a low starting gravity, or I'm going to do this Bell's 2 hearted, is that single sachet, do you feel comfortable still saying, yeah, it is still fine for both and you don't got to worry about it? Do you know where I'm going with my question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, I do tend to look at the yeast pitching calculator, the software I use, Brewer's Friend, as you're putting in your recipe. You can't really skip it. I mean, you can, but it's right there and it just shows up and it tells you and right there that you need X amount. Now, the thing is, some of these packages are big, like you mentioned Imperial too, in their pouches, 200 billion. The thing is, dry yeast, not so much because it is vacuum sealed.
Yeah.
and it's dry. But how did that? I mean, you're going to ship it to me from Texas. It already was shipped to Texas to you. So I would err on the side of caution if at all possible. That said, I have sometimes thought I had more yeast than I did and underpitched. One of the things that I like to do, because I'm on a fixed income now as a senior citizen, but I've been doing it for 20 years. I save yeast cakes because I use a lot of Chico strains. And a lot of times, even on IPAs, I'll use a drier British strain. And I save that in mason jars in my fridge. We even have a yeast slurry pitching calculator based on how old that yeast is. Okay. So I still will do that. But sure, I mean, if you have a gravity under 1070 and you get a package of cellar science dry, I have no real worries with that. It'd be nice if I'd have to, but I think, I think there's plenty of cells in there. And I think White Yeast and White Labs and Imperial have really done a lot more to help us homebrewers and sell us more yeast cells at one time.
Oh, yeah.
They used to do a smaller package. And you know what? I would just assume pay a couple bucks more and get more yeast and not worry about it. So I think we've come a long way, at least in the home part of that.
We really have, even from the 18-ish or 18 plus now, not 18-ish, 18 plus years it's officially on the commercial retail side of home brewing, come such a long way, where even yeast manufacturers, and I say this all the time, maybe it's been a while, guys, since I've said it on the show, it is the best time ever to be alive as a home brewer. No arguing about that. Even with the doom and gloom of home brewing's dying. Yeah, okay. But thank God still, there are so many strains of yeast you can pick from for at a retail level, a consumer level. Hops, you know what I mean? We've talked about this before, but 20 plus years ago, you were a slave to your local homebrew supply shop's availability, where I really want Galaxy. No, you're not getting it. I don't even know if Galaxy existed 20. I don't know how.
No, it's relatively new, but yeah, you get what you get.
You get what you get. And it was that way with yeast. Unfortunately, some shops it still is that way due to the weird part of the industry. But I just mean I really need an English strain. And actually, you're getting a Chico strain for this batch.
You're gonna like it.
That's right. But where I was going with this too, I meant to add people, if they don't watch the show or if they skip the ads, ad right now. No, I probably won't do that. But the Cellar Science ad, I don't remember if I had mentioned, they went up from 12 gram to 15 gram in each sachet. And I only have limited experience with their 12 gram, and it was on their German lager strain, and we never had any issue with it. I feel like now, for me, it's for better, but someone might argue it could be for worse. They're now when I'm pitching, it is chugging through. It's not. I'm pitching on a Friday, and I could keg on a Wednesday. You know what I mean? It reminds me of the liquid yeast, the experience we had with Imperial. And I remember some people in the early days of me talking about, guys, you would not believe, Imperial is chugging through, and actually, you don't want your yeast to do that. You want it to, it's God, if the end result is good, I don't need to know the science. I'm Mr. Placebo over here, where you're giving me a sugar pill, but it's curing my neck pain. I'm okay, great.
Good with it.
But I don't need to know the science. All I know is I like having the option of kegging my beer sooner than 14 days or whatever yeast used to take.
And there are some strains that are noted, especially a couple of Belgian strains, noted to just stop on day 3. And you're thinking, is it stuck? Is it stuck? Is it stuck? And then it'll taper off. But those are kind of noted. And luckily, like you said, best time to be a home brewer.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this strain is not finishing. What should I do? And you type it, and it's oh, this one is noted to do this.
Yeah.
But with the pitching, and that was Pete's question right along at the very beginning, was why not set yourself? First of all, this stuff is not cheap anymore.
No.
Grain is not cheap. Hops are not cheap, and yeast is not
cheap. No.
And so, and some of us buy our own water or have,
Yep.
we do things.
Yep.
So why not set yourself up to make the best beer you can, and try not to cheap out on those 3 grams. That's why I'm really glad Cellar Science is putting more in, especially for lager yeast.
Yep.
And, it has to do with temperature too. If you were going to do a lager and ferment it cold, the recommendation is like double what it would be for an ale. And now pressure fermentation has changed a lot of that for some people. Joshua. But but still, there are recommendations. And the yeast companies do give you the best product at the best price they can, as quick as they can. But it might have sat on somebody's shelf. It might sat in a hot UPS truck. So, it's always better to just err on the side of, being a little over rather than under. And you're right. It's true that there is actually a lot of scientific data on how much yeast reproduction you should get. It is like ideal when you pitch, blah, blah, blah. That's true. But at the homebrew level, if the beer comes out great,
relax. Don't worry.
Relax.
Have a homebrew.
Have a homebrew.
Hey, I wonder if I owe him money. Did he trademark that? I wonder if Charlie ever trademarked that.
I don't know if he trademarked, but I actually saw a license plate outside of a bar in Milwaukee one time that said RD.
No way.
What is it?
DW.
RDHAHB. Did I get them all?
RDW.
Relax, don't worry. There's a W in there.
Yeah.
But I took a picture of it. So that guy probably thinks I'm, like with the cops or something.
If I was Charlie, I would have trademarked it.
That was cool.
If I was him, I would have trademarked it. And that way, anytime some dumb bald guy on a podcast says it, I owe him a nickel or whatever. We have to license it out. Don't worry. Relax. Actually, he took that from what was the 80s band? Was that?
It was from a book.
I meant the just relax. Don't do it. That was relax. Was that Fred? Right Said Fred, or who did that song? I don't know. I just remember from The Wedding Singer when I was a kid, that Adam Sandler movie, when it really was that Zoolander is where actually I think I remember it from. Anyways, come on. Am I speaking Greek to you? Do you know?
You are.
Oh my gosh. I hesitate to call them the classics. That would be a great troll for people, actual fans of cinema online, are going to be like, they're going to find this clip of Joshua calling.
Casablanca is a classic.
No, so is that Wedding Singer is an all-time. Actually, it's my favorite Adam Sandler movie. I love.
Really?
Yeah.
Not Happy Gilmore.
No, Wedding Singer, I think it was just more relatable, like dorky loser musician wannabe. Yeah,
that was. You remember Grandma working in the sledge? Anyway, we're way off topic.
We're way
yeast.
Peace. Thank you so much for submitting that question. My friends, if you're watching at youtube.com/Homebrew Happy Hour and you have some feedback or criticism, or you want to tell me who's saying relax, don't do comment below. Or if you're listening, like 99.89% of you are, you can still comment, I believe, in like Spotify. I don't know if Apple Podcast does. I use Pocket Cast. You can review there. You can't comment, I don't think. But either way, reach out to us. You could call it in to 325-305-6107 and leave a voicemail. Are you still paying premium prices for imported malt, or settling for standard domestics to save a buck? You don't have to choose anymore. Let me tell you, friends, about Viking Malt. They are the world's largest producer of specialty malt using pristine, non-GMO Northern European barley. And because it's directly imported, you get pro-level, award-winning malt at standard domestic pricing. But here's where it gets really cool for homebrewers. Introducing their new Viking 3G Extra Pale Base Malt. It is genuinely innovative. It's a no-lots malt, meaning it's bred without the enzymes that cause beer to stale, so your kegs and bottles stay fresh way longer. Plus, it has 60% less of the stuff that causes DMS. That means cleaner beer, and you can actually shorten your boil times, saving you energy and time on your brew day. It's highly modified, extra light, and perfect for lagers or any hop-forward ale. Upgrade your next brew day with Viking 3G Extra Pale. Or, of course, you can email joshua@homebrewhappyhour.com. Like our second question of the show, it is an email. Our buddy Chris with a K. I haven't seen KRIS in a while, like crisscross. Speaking of music, jump. Anyways, Chris wrote in, and he said, I'm still using a standard Auto-Siphon to transfer my beer from the fermenter into my kegs. I know everyone preaches about closed pressure transfers these days, but my setup is pretty simple, and I'm trying to make what I have work as best as possible. What are your best practices for minimizing cold side oxidation when using an Auto-Siphon? Is there a reliable trick to prevent pulling in air bubbles around the inner seal or accidentally sucking up trub from the bottom? Also, should I be purging my keg with CO2 beforehand, even if the lid is open to siphon straight down to the bottom? Appreciate the advice and keep up the awesome work with the show. It is a method most of us have done at some point in our brewing. In fact, one of our earliest kegconnection.com YouTube videos was Todd transferring from secondary from the from a carboy into his keg and open, and since then he has shown how you can very carefully, because the legal department's in my ear, you can do a closed transfer on a glass carboy at like 1 psi, not to exceed it. But this video was showing that, and I remember a lot of the early comments were, "Oh, how does cardboard taste?" or whatever, because the implication was that you're gonna oxidize that beer if you're doing it open at all. We all know that's not true. It just has increased risk, and in my opinion, the closed transfer is your best practice because it minimizes.
That would be ideal.
It would be ideal. But in the open one, like here, if you what are some of your suggestions for people who just don't have the means or don't care to do closed transfers?
Well, it works. I mean, a lot of us still do it the old-fashioned way, but he has a point about the Auto-Siphon. I had an older one that I didn't even think about, but pumping it, it kind of leaked, and I had to pump, and you're oxidizing it.
Yeah.
Drink that one fast. However, he did mention too, purging the keg with CO2. Does that make sense if you're taking the lid off to do it? Sure. However, if you have the ability, because you're kegging, not bottling makes it a little tougher because you're bottling. We can go into that in a minute. But why not, if you're going to use your Auto-Siphon, why not put a quick disconnect, a black one on it, put that on your keg and purge? Even if you're not transferring with CO2, keep CO2 in it. Put a black, I don't have one handy here, but you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
I do.
Your quick disconnect on the end of the tubing.
Yep.
Put that on there and pull to take out some of the gas and pump it. And you'll do the Auto-Siphon. That way you're basically still, yes, you're going to have, if you're especially for coming out of a bucket or something, you're still going to have some oxygen ingress, but not as bad if you have that ability. Don't take that lid off. But if you need to do the transfer, sure. CO2 is heavier than air. I don't want to talk about the CO2 blanket because there really is no such thing, but it is heavier than the atmospheric air, and temporarily will kind of still help provide a little bit of CO2 over top of the beers you fill. It will dissipate, but we should do that sometime. We should have a fight over the CO2 blanket.
Well, so it's funny. I guess I forgot you were a fan of the show. I don't know if you know, like that was Todd and James, like bread and butter on this blanket of CO2, and that I don't have the heart to show them some of the hate mail that those claims get. Dude, actually, the nicest one, and I'm surprised we never talked about. I believe 2025 Homebrewer of the Year, Wayne Doucet. He wasn't hate mail at all, but he was one of the first people to be cordial about it instead of being like, "You idiots." No, Wayne was like, "That's actually not a real thing, and here's why." And you're right. On a future episode, we could that's a topic we could devote half a show to probably, or just be super quick about it, like you said. And allegedly, because I'm playing enlightened centrist here. The CO2 blanket doesn't exist. First time I'm hearing this, Lorena. No, that is a controversial. That's one of the most controversial things that we've ever said on the show or ever claimed.
That and extract versus all grain. I've heard that one too.
Yeah. And also
those fighting words. So, however, the CO2 in the keg, if you are transferring, will remain there for a period of time, although it will not block any oxygen ingress in there. It will help minimize it.
Right.
But if you can do it closed or semi-closed or mostly closed, it's better than not doing anything at all.
Here's how dumb I feel. I've never even considered. I don't even know the last time I used an auto-siphon, what the diameter, what's the ID of that tubing. But you could totally fit a disconnect, find a nut on a threaded disconnect to fit it, worm clamp it down or stepless clamp, whatever. But I never thought of that because you're right. That is a now pseudo-closed where the keg doesn't have to be open. And the receiving end, if we can minimize our risk there, we sanitize it. If we dump it, we purge it with CO2.
Right, and you purge your keg with CO2.
And keep it closed that whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, go on the liquid side from your auto-siphon. Because
that way you have the long dip tube.
All the way to the bottom. That's right.
And if I transfer from keg to keg, I use a black to a black.
Yes, yep.
Which really doesn't make sense until you think, yes, you want the long tube to the long, so that way it's not splashing in there, right?
Yep.
So that's why I said black and put it on the out. That way you're filling from the bottom, and as you do that. And then one thing you do have to do is pull your pressure relief valve a little, because as the liquid fills, the gas has to go somewhere. So just every so often, make sure that you're kind of continuing to sort of purge the gas.
Here's another potential digression, but I think it's on topic. I am a huge fan of Tron's Float It 2.0. I know you have one.
Yes.
A really nice, benevolent person who, when he still had a job, stole it from the shelf and shipped it to you. But it was still me. I get the credit, even though
I'm not going to thank Tron or
Todd actually saw what I was doing, and I told him, and he okayed it. So you should thank Todd. Todd's the benevolent
one. Todd, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm sorry. That's what he would say. Or you're welcome. So I love and I love that product because even if I do the Japanese rice lager and I keg it, and 3 days later on gas and it's finally carbed or whatever, when I pull it through, I don't know what micron level his filter's at. It's all public info. It's not like a secret. I just don't remember it because I'm bad at short-term memory. It is like crystal clear. It does such a good job. Where I'm going with this, I always purge the keg before I transfer from my Firmzilla under pressure. I always do the liquid dip tube because I just feel that's safer. Could I be and also, I don't put my floating dip tube on the actual dip tube. I have a lid configuration where there's a barb.
Oh.
There's a post on my lid that has a barb. It's a liquid post with the barb that has tubing that goes all the way down to the Float It 2.0, which is sitting on the bottom at that point till it is. In that my scenario, this question, guys, full spoiler preface. This is for me and me alone. Probably, I don't know how many of y'all are doing this. I've always still used a liquid dip tube because it's stainless steel and it goes to the bottom, and I just feel safer. Right. Could I be filling from that floating dip tube, or would you not recommend filling from a floating dip tube?
I would not recommend it because the filters there, are you going to get all the filter?
Oh, good
even
point.
If you have totally clear beer,
good point.
You're going to fill your filter from the inside.
You're right.
Instead of the outside. So I would not.
No, you're absolutely right. So then people who retrofit their liquid dip tube to have a floating dip tube, that might be something for them to keep in mind.
Right. Or even use a piece of tubing, because with the Float It, as you're filling, of course, then you'd have to put it back on.
You would, yeah.
Yeah. I don't have an answer for that because it never occurred to me.
I do. I'm going to start now. I got to figure out the logistics and if I could get a loan. Dad, if you're watching, can I borrow $3,000? I'm going to start selling the lid configurations that I do. I've been an advocate of it for forever, and this wasn't me finding a way to weasel this into the show. I'm actually not going to sell it because I don't have that kind of drive or willpower or work ethic. But anyways, different show. But I really do think the way that I do it has been the best for me because I haven't had to manipulate my Ked's dip tubes. I like keeping them how they are just in case I use them for something else. Or if I don't want to use the Float It on that keg, it's just not using that lid.
Right.
But having the
I love it. Now I'm like, my cakes that I have the set up for fermentation.
Yeah.
So I have, the thing on the top where I put the airlock. I'm like, I can put a post in there. You're so smart.
Dude. Sometimes
who'd you steal it from? I know you're not that smart.
I know. Chat GPT's in my ear the whole show. We're living in the future. It hears ideas and it goes, Joshua, say this. And I'm like, oh, yes, Chat GPT. Yeah. Anyways, Chris, I think wrapping up his thing, with your situation, what Lorena's describing is absolutely my favorite idea. Put a liquid distillate, the black ones, on the end of your auto-siphon onto your liquid post, which is the long dip tube. And that way, at least on the receiving vessel side of this thing, you are way more protected than if you're doing open. Your carboy or your bucket, whatever, I don't even remember if he said what he's pulling from.
I don't think so. I tried to go back. He just said fermenter.
Yeah.
So it could be something that would even allow more close instead of opening the lid.
Right.
So yeah, and that way you have no splashing and a lot less risk.
Exactly. Because that's going to be your enemy if you are splashing on the other end. Like Lorena had said, drink fast. You better drink that batch fast. Super fast. Anyways.
Fast and cold.
Fast and cold. But anyways, Chris, thank you so much for submitting that question. A reminder, guys, like Chris, like Pete, you could always write them in by emailing joshua@homebrewhappyhour.com. And you're like, that's cool. That's great. I get my questions answered and I don't have to hear the sound of my own voice. But if you're like me and you just record yourself and all day just listen to and go, man, my voice sounds cool, call your question in to 325-305-6107 because today's show is brought to you by hopsdirect.com. Grown in the esteemed Yakima Valley on the Pewterball family farm, hopsdirect.com offers the widest variety of hops available online at incredibly competitive pricing. It's simple. They grow hops, they sell hops, and they ship hops straight from their family-owned farm to your doorstep. Producing the highest quality hops is hopsdirect.com's passion, and they're proud to be an independent grower in the craft beer industry. Go to hopsdirect.com right now and get what you need to make your brew day better. That's hopsdirect.com. The Gondo Questions brings us to our third and final question of voicemail, our buddy Derek from Seattle.
Hey, Joshua, thanks for keeping your podcast going. My name's Derek. I'm out in Seattle, and like many other people, we've lost a couple of our homebrew shops, and now the closest thing to local is a bit of a drive and hard to get to, so I've been ordering my grains and stuff online, and because of this, I wound up getting a grain mill my wife purchased for me. And it's a 3-roller, and I was wondering about setup, maintenance, and cleaning of a grain mill. That would be my question to you for the show. And I know it's a pretty basic question, but it's the one that I have. Thank you very much, and keep on keeping on. I hope you're having a good day. But
Derek, I appreciate you, my friend, for being in the community. And this is another one of those, Lorena. It almost feels like I paid him to do it because I have a mill now, a 2-roller from our good friends at Monster Mill. I don't have an ad to run for them, but Fred Francis, let me know what you want. I'll run it, buddy. But I love it. I love crushing right before we brew.
I love it.
Anecdotally, I have noticed a huge difference in regards to just better. I'm not saying that it's like so noticeable. Oh my God, when I received milled recipe kits, it was sucky. No, I just mean there's like this noticeable crispness. I don't even know how to quantify it.
It's
freshness.
It's like crushing that grain is noticeably fresher. The other thing, of course, with your own grain mill, I have a saying that I use: crush till you're scared.
What?
Because
it.
Homebrew stores, you can ask for a double crush, but there's so many people now doing brew in a bag or have better filtering than we did in the old days.
Yeah.
So yeah, how much should I crush? Oh, crush till I'm scared.
I love that. Crush till I'm scared.
I think a homebrew store, they have to have the ability to not have everybody have a stuck mash.
Yep.
So they have to crush a little coarser. You can now crush as fine as you need to. I love that. So not only is it fresher, it even smells fresher when you first crush it. It's just fresh grain. But I have a 2-roller, so I'm not sure. It sounds like I know Monster has three
Mine's
as well.
mine's a 2. And actually, I think Fred Francis was the one who recommended it to me for the ease and longevity maintenance. He said the 2-roller is really all a home brewer needs. 3-rollers, though, are highfalutin. You know what I mean? Like,
right. I would say that wife gave him a really nice gift.
She loves him. What?
I'm so jealous. You know? I got a mop for Christmas. Anyway,
I got a treadmill.
So I can only tell you how I take care of mine,
Yes.
which probably is not ideal. I got a barley crusher about, I don't know, more than 20 years ago. Excuse me, I'm a little hoarse. Let me take a sip of water. But
No, I think that's a pony. A little horse is a
pony, a little horse.
Yeah.
What I do is, first of all, I do not condition my grain. If you don't know what that is, it is just lightly spraying your grain with some water to make the husk stay more intact for lautering. I brew in a bag in my Brazilla, so I don't really care about all that.
Yeah.
But if you're grain conditioning, that's a little different because it can make, you got to watch your moisture level there. But I just crush regular dry grain. What I do, I don't clean it in the sense that I use liquid and clean it.
Right.
But what I have done is I have a dedicated paintbrush that I keep next to my grain mill. And when I am finished, I very nicely clean it, get all the dust off, get the yuck off of it.
Yeah.
And then I make sure it's still going around real nice and turn it around. That's really all I do. Is it right? I don't know, but
I should
had
have
the same grain mill for 20 years.
I feel better about it because so we actually we're milling in our garage, in my garage. And my pop will frequently just get my air compressor, like the line off it, and just make sure
that's perfect.
Did everything off of it. And I've heard people talking about you need to oil condition your mill. You need to do. I've never even thought to do it because I'm like, I don't see any. I mean, I don't know if it's galvanized. I have no idea. I should know this stuff before I do an episode. Fred Francis listens to the show. He'd be like, tell them the talking points of my mills, please. I vouch for it every time I ever do content. Like, it is a legit home brewer's grain mill, and for a reasonable price too. And the reason I like it was just to be able to mill and crush rather before our brew day.
Right.
Like, I have noticed, I've already said this already, but I've noticed such a huge difference. But the ease of it is also what I like in regards to, we have a corded, what kind of, and I say drill because I'm not a handy person. We use this cobalt. It's the, what are they called? Not a hammer drill, but it has a handle and here. And I learned the hard way. I had to get it corded for it to work on it because I tried my wireless one and it just didn't have enough juice to run. And so, it's as easy as plugging it in, going at a slow pace after we've calibrated it, because he gives you spacers and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to cover the Derek's part about setup. We kind of cover maintenance. Yeah. Setup, if whoever you bought it from should have included some basic instructions of the literal setup configuration. Like I said, I can only speak for Monster Mill because that's my only experience, but it was like receiving an IKEA thing of, here's a visual, here's how to do it, step 1 through step 8 or whatever. Okay, I'm kind of a dumb monkey. I get it. So I can look at picture. I tried to color. I thought it was a coloring book. It was not. It was just the instructions in black and white. And I tried to put it together super easy. And then came time to calibration. And that's where I was kind of worried it'd be hard. It's not. You put those spacers in and the Monster Mill that we have has this calibrating dial. I don't even know the proper term for the thing. So that way the spacer that I put in it can barely go in and out. Like, you want it to be able to move freely, but not like easily.
Right.
And then that's when okay, that's perfect. And we do a test crush, and it was like, we only single crush. We don't do brew in a bag. We do, I guess it's technically a brew in a basket in our G40, but I've had good efficiency with single crush at whatever we did calibrate it at. And we just go on from there. But your miles may vary depending on, again, how you brew. If it's brew in a bag,
how you brew, how you lauter,
if you sparge.
One of the things that I heard more than 20 years ago is use your feeler gauge. I have feeler gauges, of course I do, to actually dial in exactly. I think default that homebrew stores do is like, and I have to talk in inches, not metric because, American. But I think it's like 0.32.
Okay. Would that be like the
something like that.
0.7 millimeter or?
Yeah. And or you could do
Yeah.
0.29, but I've actually gone way lower than that. But initially they told me use a credit card, and your feeler, that could be your feeler gauge if you don't. And the thickness of a credit card, not easy in and out, but in and out. And that would be a good place to start if you don't know what crush you want to start with. Do a little test
Oh.
and see. I go a lot finer than that.
What do you go to? 0.025?
Well, it's like 0.24, 0.25. It's not flour, but it's
Yeah.
crushed. I told you, I crushed, so I'm scared.
Yeah.
And but I'm doing a bag now. Now, when I was doing the traditional 3-vessel system, there's no way.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to ever get it out. It would have been a stuck mash, stuck sparge. So it depends on your brewing system and what you want to do. I want to kind of say that I had heard years and years ago that if you have too much flour and you really shred your husk, you'll get a lot of astringency.
Is that true?
In my experience, it's not. It's more about a pH issue, than the husk. So that's another thing. If you're worried about that, do what you feel comfortable with doing. You do not have to crush as fine as I do. I'm just like, I'm only going to crush once, and I'm going to crush the heck out of it.
Well, and dialing in on your, if you have a mill, so in an ideal world, in my opinion, a home brewer would have a mill, and they could calibrate it however they need to get the efficiency they're going for, so that they get the yield what they're expecting from their calculators.
Well, and good quality work.
Yes.
Getting more efficiency at the expense of your quality is not good. But
that's a good point.
Just the caveat I wanted to throw in there.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. You're right. More isn't always better if the quality goes down. I just mean though, most people find a system that they're happy with, and they real dial. Like my pop and I on the G40, it's great, and we know we're getting 80+% efficiency because of the way we mill, and because of our water to grain ratio, and because of our spar. You know what I mean? But that's not an accident. That's something that we have worked on using the calculators within Brewer's Friend, using the Grainfather software that comes with it. And that's why, I love this show, and it can go on forever, because every question we could do we could do this exact same 3 questions in a month and from a different perspective and have a whole different show. Not a whole different, but you know what I mean? It's so contingent on the individual.
Right. And that's one of the things we can tell everybody the basics, and we can all read the basics if you're like me, of a collection of books. But until you're actually standing there with a stuck sparge or something, we learn. And so if you're a newer brewer, especially with this new grain mill, be ready for anything. Don't beat yourself up until you kind of get it dialed in. And like I said, I have mine dialed in. I know, and I don't even really, when you ask me what I crush to now, I can't remember. It just looks right.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like I forget. But at one time, then I had that feeler gauge in there, and I was dialing it in. So do that. If you don't have feeler gauge, use a credit card. Use a coaster, something so that you can. Especially, Sue, sometimes if you don't have those tightened really tight, they may move on you. So that's why you probably should check now and then.
Yeah.
I'm more like, oh, wait a minute, this doesn't look right, and then do it. But lately, the last 10 times I've crushed my grain, it's been spot on. It looks great. Everything's the same. So, you may have to do that. And if you're brewing in a bag and you want to crush finer, do it till it looks right to you. If you are getting stuff from the homebrew store and you liked the way that looked, you might not be able to say, oh, that's probably 0.29. Right. But you can say, well, try a little handful of grain and go, yeah, you know what? That looks pretty right. That looks good.
Yeah.
And as long as almost all of your hulls are broken and crushed,
Yes.
then you're good, right? That's really what it should look like. It shouldn't look like flour unless you live in my house. But it's not flour. I'm kind of over exaggerating. I mean, it's not flour. There is some flour in the grist, but so I think otherwise cleaning, you said air compressor. That's brilliant. If I don't brew in my garage, so I don't have an air compressor handy.
Yeah.
Hence the dedicated paintbrush.
The paintbrush. No, just keeping it clean. And I think, as with anything, I feel like I've always taken care of my stuff. But as I grow older in my age, Lorena, with my wisdom, I am 40, don't you know? Don't let the balding fool you. I'm an old man. I'm a young man. Anyway, if you just take care of your stuff, it lasts. And so this is definitely a question, though, if you're watching at youtube.com/Homebrew Happy Hour, and you're like, here's what has worked for me in the longevity of my home. Because like Lorena's, I like your perspective because you've had that grain mill for as long as I've been brewing, or longer, as long as I've been in the industry. 20 years is a long time, and no signs of it going bad, right? And that investment, you've gotten your money's worth 1,000%, and it all is accredited to just taking care of it. It wasn't like a special, the first Saturday of the month is grain mill cleaning day, and it's an 8-hour process. No, when I'm done using it, I wipe it down. I don't leave gunk in there. I can inspect it, make sure, okay, it didn't get wet, good. There's no chance of rust. You mill in your basement, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
So I don't know humidity levels in a basement, but you're probably not having
the humidity in the basement in the summer is still not terrible, but it's there. And that's something I'm aware of too. But I also, because I store grain there in my sealed bins, the grain is still pretty dry.
Yeah.
I keep it. That's the key, by the way, for grain: dry, cool.
Yeah.
If you want it to last more than briefly, especially if you buy by the sack, keep it cool and dry, and you'll have fresher malt. But and I think mine is the barley crusher. And honestly, I have not even looked to see if they're still in business after all these years.
I think they are.
I
think they are.
I assume they are. And it's a quality product, and I'm not unhappy with it at all. So it works. I think.
You know what? Maybe they're not still a thing.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Are they?
The first result on Google is a 2008 post from Brad Smith about the barley crusher.
Oh, really?
Yeah, is Brad?
I wonder if Brad has one.
He does. Well, he did in April of 2008.
Yeah. Next time you see him, ask him.
Look at how young Brad used to be. Oh my gosh!
I used to be young in 2008.
You used to be young? You were young?
In 2008, I was younger.
I was 21 in 2008.
Shut up.
No, I wasn't. I was like
now.
Anyway, yeah. No, Derek, thank you so much for submitting the question. A final reminder, guys, we love hearing your voice, and if you want to be cool like Derek, here's my peer pressure point. This is now the segment I'm calling Peer Pressure from Joshua. Smoke the cigarette, you dork. No, if you want to be cool like Derek, call it in to 325-305-6107. Or, of course, you could always email or use the submit a question link at the top of the page. It all goes to Joshua at homebrewhappyhour.com. That is the final question that I had for the show. I did want to tack on to it, though, at the risk of sounding dumb. Brewing a bag, people, y'all don't have to use rice hulls, do you?
No.
Because that's the point of the bag.
Well, you know what? I take that back. Sometimes I still do. It's like because I'm using Brizola, and if I want to step mash, and instead of your grain can compact as you recirculate.
Right.
It doesn't so much matter if you're just not step mashing. But I'm step mashing, sometimes I will use rice to give me some space as I ramp.
Okay.
So I still have some, but no, rice hulls are really not important to me anymore.
So one of my consolation, I didn't really get a severance, but I got a 50-pound bag of rice hulls. Do you know how long a 50-pound bag of rice hulls is going to last me? My dad, our last brew day, was so mad at how much rice hulls I was putting in. I was like,
yeah, you just let's put in 7 handfuls.
I basically doubled our grain bill.
Yeah, and that's it. If with the Brazilla, if I didn't use the bag, or like if I'm wrapping, I will use some rice hulls.
Yeah.
It's easier. Why not?
So you don't want me to ship you a huge thing of rice hulls?
No,
Okay,
thank you.
noted. Don't include that in Lorena's
But
recipe.
think of it this way: you can bequeath what's left of your rice hulls to your children.
Oh, they're gonna love that. Yeah, absolutely. When they're executing the will that I haven't written yet, and to his oldest daughter Elizabeth.
He has still 30 pounds of rice hulls.
Yeah. Hopefully, yeah. Well, with my family history and dietary choices, it could be 5 years, it could be 25 years. We don't know when my funeral. I would love for you to be at my funeral, Lorena. No.
Maybe. Let's see.
We'll see. I haven't gotten the motorcycle up and running yet. That'll probably be the death of me one of these days. Yeah.
Don't even say that.
Oh, you sound like my mom now. You know that's not a thing, right? She's like, don't joke about dying young. I was like, Mom, I'm 40 and I'm bald. I'm not young anymore. I've been joking like this for 20 years.
Here's the thing you don't understand, okay? The fact that you're 40, your mom has to realize that she's not 40.
Yes,
right?
That's true.
The only time I felt old was on my daughter's 35th birthday.
Yeah. And you're like, wait a second, I have a 35-year-old.
I have a daughter who's almost middle age. Yeah. So,
time flies. Time flies.
That's why she doesn't want you to joke about it, because then we have to face our own mortality, and we ain't got time for that.
I had my midlife crisis at like 21 years old. I'm good, buddy. I'm good. Anyways, my friend Lorena, I sincerely appreciate you.
It was wonderful. Thank you.
I will let you know for next week, because I haven't heard. Bells either wants to do the interview next week or the following. They haven't gotten back to me. But if you're available next week, and Bell,
absolutely.
I knew it. See, that when you committed to being a co-host, you signed in blood that you would be readily available all the time. Or somebody did. I mean, But
I already was readily available all the time.
I know. And I still do it last minute. That's a confession I don't want to make on the show, but I still sent the outline for this episode to you at like 5 p.m. yesterday. But anyways,
it doesn't matter.
My friend, I sincerely appreciate you, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you.